बहुत अच्छा। हाँ जी? Okay. Sure, no problem. Wonderful. Sure. हाँ हाँ, मुझे मालूम है, मैंने उनको बोला था कि माता जी से लेना है, तो सत्संग के बाद मुझे याद दिला देना। Done. How are you? Did they take care of your room? Ah, perfect. How are you? Wonderful. Wonderful. Welcome to Satsang. We'll begin as always with one of the questions that's come in advance, and then open it up to any question that anyone here may have. How do I stop giving people power over my life? Well, someone has to run the show. Someone has to make a decision. Even in little things. Okay, it's dinner time. What are we going to eat? Somebody has to decide. Food isn't going to just drop out of the universe into your lap. Unless, of course, you're here, at which point it does. But it's a very rare situation, like here in the ashram, where you just sit down and there's dinner cooked and whatever happens to have been made for dinner without asking you what you wanted just gets prepared and it's given. Someone has to decide, what are we going to buy? What are we going to cook? Where are we going to live? What are we going to do tonight? Little things. Someone makes a decision. And we give away the power when we decide that someone else's decision-making capacity is better for us than ours is. And it's important to realize that sometimes that's true. Letting other people advise you or even make a decision for you when they know better, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we have parents for and teachers for and mentors for and gurus for and experts for. There's plenty of things in life that we don't know about. You end up with a headache or a stomach ache or a fever, you go to the doctor. They say to you, take this. Regardless of what type of doctor it is, they're going to give you something. An Ayurvedic doctor is going to give you some kind of churdan. An allopathic doctor is going to give you a pill, whatever it may be. But they'll give you something for it. And we take it. And we voluntarily give them that trust. Because we know, I don't know the answer. I don't know what to do. Children have parents who guide them. To let a child do whatever it wants. I mean, children want to run into streets. They want to grab fire. They want to eat Oreos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Right? I mean, if you said to a child, all right, so what do you want for dinner? Oreos. Twinkies. But how many parents are going to let their children eat Oreos and Twinkies every meal continuously for days and years on end? Nor should they. The children are not being subjugated or oppressed by their parents for not being allowed to eat cookies, although a friend of mine when I was growing up, the son of very good friends of my parents, one night he was about, 10 or 11, old enough to be very mischievous, young enough not to quite realize the consequences of what he did. And one night at dinner, he didn't like the vegetables that his mom had made him and said he wanted something different. And mom said, this is what's for dinner. And if you don't want it, you can go up to your room. So he went up to his room. And about half an hour later, there was a knock on the door, and it was the police. Let's do one thing. Why don't you move up a little bit? Yeah. Those of you there, you can move up, but it'll just make some room as people come in. Come. Great. So, about a half an hour later, there's a knock at the door, and it's the police. There's been a complaint of child abuse in this house. And he actually had gone up to his room and had called the police that he was being starved, and the police showed up at the door. They obviously left soon when they found out what was really going on. But the point being, as children, our parents make the decision, here's what's for dinner. But someone along the way makes decisions. And either I make them or I defer to someone else. And so when we ask ourselves, how do I stop giving away my power? The first piece is, why is it that I think I need to be an expert on everything? Because taking advice, taking guidance from those who know more about certain things than we do, that's what life's about. You would never say, well, I gave away my power when I went to the doctor or the Ayurvedic Vedya and said, what should I do for my stomach ache? And I followed what he said. That's help. You would never say, I gave away my power when you were going out to dinner with someone who really, 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 really wanted to eat Italian food. And maybe you don't love Italian food, but you love the person you were going out with, and you really, really, really wanted to make them happy, and so you were very happy going out for Italian. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem arises when I feel unfree, when I feel stuck. And that's when we need to say to ourselves, why have I given that away? And to whom have I given it? And how is it that anyone actually has the ability to run my life? And why would I do that? And the only answer there is that on some level, I feel incapable of running it on my own. That I feel not smart enough, not wise enough, not this enough, not that enough. That somehow other people know better than I do. A lot of us move through the world with this sense of somehow, I don't know. I don't know what I need. I don't know who I am. And this is where we end up taking all of our answers from the world outside. So if I don't know who I am, and you say to me, you're stupid, okay, now that's who I am, I'm stupid. Or if you say to me, God, you're hot, okay, so now I'm hot. If you say to me, oh, you're so sweet, great, I'm sweet. If you say to me, oh, you're horrible, I'm horrible. And this is where our self-perception not only goes up and down constantly, but starts requiring us to surround ourselves with people who tell us, oh, you're beautiful, oh, you're wonderful, because if I don't have any ability to know the self, and I have to take those answers from the world outside, then yeah, I better surround myself with people who are telling me what I want to hear. But that's not the answer. Because again, then you're stuck. You're not free. There's only a few people you can surround yourself with who are going to tell you over and over and over again, regardless of what you do, you are so wonderful. You are perfect. You are beautiful. You are this. You are that. And so we've limited ourselves. And what we've also done is cut ourselves off from the source of truth within us. And that's the greatest dilemma. And so if you find that you have given away your power, if you find that you are living in a situation in which other people are making decisions for you, not because you're happy to go wherever they'd like for dinner, not because they actually are an expert on the subject matter, but simply because you're moving through the world feeling that you don't know yourself or your truth, take it back. And it's scary because if we've spent our lives having other people tell us what to do, we find ourselves paralyzed or flapping around like fish who have been pulled out of water. We have no idea what to do. Somebody tell me what to do. And it's actually a really interesting place to be because you realize for a moment, well, I don't have to actually do anything. I can just be here in this space until eventually something rises within me. And eventually it will. When you listen. When we meditate, we always talk about taking our senses that are usually focused outward and bringing them to be focused inward. And so when we're used to listening outward for what to do, what to buy, what to have, who to be, who I am, it takes a moment to recalibrate. But bring it back in. And make a commitment that you're not gonna move until that voice within says, move. And it may be something as simple as, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. I'll eat. It may be something a little bit more. There was that homeless guy on the road I passed coming in yesterday. I wonder if he's there. I'm going to go see if he needs a sandwich. A friend of mine's upset. Her grandmother just died. I'm going to give her a call, see how she feels. Whatever it may be. Tiny little things. But simply for the purpose of practice, tell yourself, for this day, and obviously if you've got a job, it can't be a weekday, because if you've got a boss in the office, you have to walk into the office. You can't say, no, today I've decided I'm not going to do anything anyone else says. Unless you are the boss, at which point, no problem. But if you've got a boss, choose a weekend. And just make a decision for this just one day. I'm not going to do anything until there's an inner calling. And now here's the important piece, though. When most of us think of that, we think about, I'm not going to do anything I don't want to. And that's not what I said. Because want is very shallow. Want is just, I'm a slave of my desires. Want is not from the core of my being usually. Want may not be in response to the power that someone sitting in front of me has, but it's still in response to the power that the advertisement I saw last week has, or the commercial I saw yesterday has, or the indoctrination I was given as a child has. And so really make sure that instead of listening to the wants of the mind, oh, I want to own this, I want to buy that, I want to have this, I want to go there. Take it deep. What am I really being pulled to right now? And keep it simple in the beginning. Because if you try to begin with, all right, what's my life's purpose? You'll drive yourself crazy. Begin with simple things. Time to eat yet or not time to eat yet? What's my body need? Not what does my tongue want or my mind or desires want. What does my body need? What am I called to do in this moment? And slowly, slowly, slowly develop that practice. But remembering that we don't live in isolation. We are connected, we are one. And so, especially as you're moving through the world as one, in connection, in love, doing that which is right for others is very frequently right for us. And simply the fact that it's right for others or that it's what someone else wants you to do does not mean you shouldn't do it. In many cases, that service of others, that smile on the face of others, is exactly what we're called upon to do in that moment. We've been overly, reversely indoctrinated, a lot of us in the West, with this sense of what for me, what's in it for me, where am I in all of this, what's my need, what's my want, as though somehow I were disconnected from the need of the trees, from the need of the river, from the need of the people I live with, from the need of the people I don't live with. It's all interlinked. So when you talk about taking your power back, realize it's not about build yourself a silo. It's about listen to your own truth so that you're not a slave to someone else's ego agenda. That's all it's about. And so that you have the ability to feel the truth from within. But it still is going to be very much connected to the needs, the pulls of the people around you. And that's what's beautiful. It's what helps us know we're alive and not living in a box. The real inner voice, that voice of spirit, of soul, is deeply connected to the spirit and soul of others. And so when inside you it quivers to do something, that the mind says, well, that's not for me. That's not my favorite type of food. That's not what I want. But inside you, you know, allow yourself to do it. Because that is what you're called upon to do in that moment. And that's not giving your power away. That's drawing your power down into the self and connecting to your truth. Before taking any of the other questions that came in advance, I'm happy to, yes, Hunab, and then you, yes.
What is the difference between compromise and commitment? And how can I apply any of them to improve the relationships with others and with myself?
Great. The difference between compromise and commitment. They actually overlap a lot. Where there is commitment, there will be compromise. If what I'm committed to is love with another being, If what I'm committed to simply is my own ego self, then of course there's no compromise, except with my own ego. But if what I'm committed to in a relationship is coming together, not as two bodies or two egos, but as one heart, as one being that happens to be in two bodies, there's always compromise. But it stops feeling like compromise. See, compromise looks like this. Oh, I really wanted Chinese food. You want Italian food. Well, all right, so I'll compromise tonight and you compromise tomorrow night. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just surface level relationship navigation. Deeper level is the joy that I get in this meal, regardless of what we eat, when we are eating in love and peace, is so much more nourishing to me than the moment of pleasure I get in the first bite of the Chinese food, because neurologically we also know that our brains actually are only processing the pleasure of taste for the first bite or two. Literally. First bite, first taste on the taste buds, the pleasure centers of the brain are like this. Second bite of the same thing, much less. Third bite, by your 10th or 15th bite, the pleasure centers have stopped entirely. So it's literally a bite or two, 30 seconds of pleasure. But what I've given up is that experience of oneness. And so it's not about compromise as in give and take. I do 50, you do 50, and this one. It's how in every moment can we both make the decision for that which really fills us more. Compromise implies I'm somehow losing something. I'm giving up something I want for something else. When I realize that actually the real joy, the deep, deep joy of coming together in oneness and love and peace and togetherness is much more than any Chinese food or any Italian food or anything I would eat or any movie I wanted to see compared to whatever it may be. That ultimately that goal is the coming together in oneness. And so if we can both make a commitment to choose love, that becomes the path. So if you make the commitment to choose love, what you're going to find is you start to fight over who gets to be the one to do what the other one wants. Oh, I know you'd rather have Italian food. Come, we'll go for Italian. And she says, no, you love Chinese. Come, we'll go for Chinese. And you say, no, we'll go for Italian. It's what you like. And you both mean it. Like you both just can't, you're so excited to sit with the other while the other is relishing dinner. Because you've tasted the joy of that. And so let that be the commitment. Let the commitment be much deeper than just, okay, so I get what I want 50% of the time and you get what you want 50% of the time. Let what we both want be to come together in love. There's a beautiful, beautiful story attributed to George Bernard Shaw. I'm not sure whether it really was him, but regardless of which very wise person it was, It's a wonderful story of he and his wife had been married for 50, 60, 70 years. I mean, some very, very, very extraordinary long period of time, and happily married. And when someone asked him, what's the secret of your happy marriage? He said, well, you know, when we got married, my wife and I made an agreement that she would make all the little decisions and I would make all the big decisions. And that throughout our life, we decided little decisions she will make, big decisions I will make. And he said, and I'm happy to tell you, in all these years we've been married, we've never had to make a big decision. So that's the attitude. I've never heard anyone answer the secret to a long relationship being, she gets her way 50% of the time, I get my way 50% of the time. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, half of Saturdays, she gets it. The answers are always answers like that. Because ultimately the core decision we make is living in love with you is what's most important. That is the decision I've made. And it doesn't mean we don't have discussions. It doesn't mean that we don't weigh pros and cons. But it means that it doesn't feel like a compromise because I haven't lost something. You've gained something. A, you've gained the moment of love. B, you've gained the opportunity to realize that whatever it was really wasn't so important, which is an opportunity to drop out of ego attachment. Relationships are fantastic vehicles to help us drop out of ego attachment. So rather than trying to figure out how can I hold on to my ego in this, figure out if you've entered into relationship, the universe has given you the blessing of saying, guess what? You get to let go of your ego attachment. Happy birthday. Yes, last.
Like you said, you usually give power to the people you're going to suffer for your life, or it's going to remain with you. But then you lose them. So how do you decide? What do you do?
Okay. So making a decision that someone else wants, but that very, very, very deeply on a core level is not what's right for us, just because we are afraid of losing them, is not the way to live. Think for a moment about everyone you deeply love. Okay, don't worry about if they love you back. Think in your mind about everyone you deeply, deeply love. And then think, if they made a decision that wasn't what you wanted, would you stop loving them? So you shake your head no, which means that if they really deeply loved you, you wouldn't lose them for the decision you've made. If you are in a situation where moving from a place of your core truth is going to cause you to lose someone, you can be sure they didn't really love you to begin with. They may have needed you. They may have been attached to you. They may have loved how your obedience made them feel. But you can be sure they did not love you at the essence and the core of who you are. Because if they did, you living in alignment with that core truth would not cause you to lose them. So yeah, sometimes we lose people. We lose a lot in life. You know, we lose skin cells every few days. They shed, I always say if the forensic expert came in here after I left and picked up my skin and my hair from here, they'd be able to tell you that I was here. You literally leave yourself behind as you move through the world. It's how the science of forensic works. It's how they catch criminals all over the place. Their hair, their skin, their this, their... We're literally losing aspects of ourselves wherever we are as we regenerate. But we have to lose them in order to regenerate. If you insisted, I'm not going to let go of any of my skin cells, you'd end up with dry, dead, itchy, eventually diseased skin. You have to let it go so that the new, healthy skin can emerge. In the same way, as we move through our lives, we have to be prepared to let go of and to lose that which no longer fits. I mean, kids, you see kids who have long outgrown a pair of shoes, right? And their toes are sticking out. It's full of holes, and one toe's sticking out here, and the other toe is sticking out there. And you say, come on, time for a new pair of shoes. And they say, no, I love these. They're cool. Let me keep wearing them. But we don't. Eventually, we make them put on a new pair because we understand wearing shoes that you've outgrown that are full of holes that your toes stick out of is not conducive to being able to properly walk or run or move in the world. In the same way, as we move, as we grow physically, you outgrow clothes. As we grow up, we outgrow habits. I remember my mom once telling a friend of hers whose child was biting his fingernails all the time. And they were talking, and the friend was saying to my mom, oh God, I wish I could. And the kid was, 7 or 8. I wish I could make him stop biting his fingernails. I've tried this, I've tried that. And my mom said, you know what? She said, I promise you, by the time he walks down the aisle, he won't be biting his fingernails. At some point between 7 years old and however old he is when he walks down the aisle to get married, he's going to stop biting his fingernails. Right? We try to force the kids to stop sucking their thumb. Well, at some point between being 3 and walking down the aisle to get married, kids stop sucking their thumbs. I've never seen anyone walk down the aisle to get married sucking their thumb. So, clothes, habits, behaviors, ways of being, we lose them as we embrace new habits, new ways of being, new bodies. And sometimes we lose people. We lose relationships because they were rooted in someone who no longer is me. And it's obviously harder to lose a relationship than to lose a pair of shoes or some skin cells. But holding on to a relationship that suffocates you is even worse than refusing to get a new pair of pants or skirt or shoes when you've outgrown it. Because it doesn't just suffocate the body, it suffocates the heart. But have faith. If they really love you as the essence of you won't lose them. But here's the last piece of this. A lot of us move in rebellion in a way that isn't from the core of our being. That's just, you want me to do this. I don't want to do what you want. Therefore, I'm going to do the opposite. That's not freedom. And that's not moving from the core of my being. That's reaction. And I'm just as stuck as by doing what you say. I've still given you my power. If you say it's time to go to sleep, and I'm not tired, but I go to sleep because you've said it's bedtime, I've given you my power. But if you say it's time to go to sleep, and I'm exhausted, but I'm not going to do what you say, and so I say no, and I force myself to stay awake against my own body's scream to sleep, just because I won't do what you say, just because I need to take my power back. Well, I've still given you my power. Look, you've kept me awake all night. And so it's very important when we make those decisions to really be sure that I'm coming at this from my core sense of who I am and what I need, neither from obedience to you and neglecting who I am, nor out of rebellion and reaction to you that is also ignoring who I am. But if you're really moving in your truth, those who are connected to you in truth will be there. It's also a good way to know who those people are. Yeah, wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. And we'll see you all tomorrow.